Given American populist throw the bastards out fervor, you might want to know why the rich aren't thrown out. Why aren't more Americans concerned about the high number of super rich in Trump's cabinet? Betsy DeVos's net worth is over $5 billion. Wilbur Ross, $2.5 billion. Vincent Viola, $1.8 billion. The Secretaries of Labor and Treasury are each worth in the tens of millions. Why aren't more concerned about Trump monetizing the presidency for his business interests, which, unlike all other recent presidents, he will not turn over to a blind trust, or the business interests of his daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner? Why isn't there more concern with potential violations of the Stock Act, which prohibits government officials from trading on insider information, which Trump, if he continues business contact and business involvement, would have such insider information? Trump's continued involvement in business while president gives foreign countries leverage over the U.S. Trump wants to build a series of hotels in China. Here's a list of what the Chinese want. In turn, it gives Trump businesses leverage over foreign countries who might want to pass or bend regulation in favor of his businesses while seeking U.S. support for their political policies. Further, will an attack on Trump properties overseas embroil the U.S. in a geopolitical military conflict, which would affect not only the local nation and the U.S., but its allies like Germany? Will the U.S. government, in other words, taxpayers, me, pay for security on properties bearing the Trump name, a high visibility target? Will the foreign government pay? And would foreign payment, or for that matter, foreign officials staying in the Trump hotels, violate prohibitions on presidents accepting gifts from overseas powers? These issues are not of greater concern because, on the whole, the rich are not resented in America. They are considered self-responsible, inventive, and daring. In December, just this past December 2016, at a rally, Trump addressed press criticism that trade deals are being negotiated by people in his cabinet who are, quote, very rich people. To a cheering crowd, he answered, "Isn't that what we want?" Well, what of Clinton, Obama, Sanders? They preached America's alternate gospel. Government should give the little guy a leg up, a boost, assistance. Government is not a problem to be kept as small as possible on this alternate gospel, but government is a source of help so people can get going on their own. Summing up the distinction between Clinton and Trump, the New York Times wrote that we have, quote, Mr. Trump seizing on economic dislocation in mixing populist anti-trade positions with traditionally Republican tax cutting, and Mrs. Clinton seeing a strong government hand in creating jobs and driving up wages. This alternate civil religion had its loudest chorus in the first decades of the 20th century, when widespread labor abuses prodded many to call for government protection from greedy elites. Teddy Roosevelt, Republican, spearheaded the reformist legislation of the progressive era. His cousin Franklin Roosevelt, Democrat, inaugurated the New Deal, both substantial increases in government programs to aid ordinary Americans. This civil religion continued through the emergencies of the Depression, World War II, and early Cold War. In 1954, the Republican President Dwight Eisenhower wrote to his brother Edgar, "Should any political party attempt to abolish Social Security, unemployment insurance, and eliminate labor laws and farm programs, you would not hear of that party again in our political history." Sort of a list of what Trump is trying to do. There is a tiny splinter group, of course, that believes you can do these things. Their number is negligible and they are stupid, close quote. The final hymn of our leg up civil religion was Lyndon Johnson's Civil Rights and Great Society programs, large government programs to aid the needy and to ensure minorities had their political rights. But these, seen as government, there it is again, government handouts, freebies, to the undeserving and lazy and black, prodded a fierce anti-government backlash that remains to this day. Then came the 1960s counterculture, the hippies and the yippies, seen as more irresponsible self-indulgence. Large sectors of the nation clamored for a return to the traditional values of self-reliance, which always goes with, other side of the coin, small governmentism. The new right that emerged in the late 1960s found its first national figure in Ronald Reagan, whose preaching about self-reliance and small government, as we've seen, obscured the drop in middle-class incomes. Incomes of the poor fell drastically, 10.5% between 77 and 86. Income for the top 10% under Reagan rose 24.5%, and for the top 1%, 74%. Nonetheless, Reagan won a landslide victory in 1984, one of the largest landslides in American history. When it comes to solutions, people vote their beliefs. In conclusion, didn't you like the way I did that? In conclusion, the economic tsunami of 2008 has added to the problems accumulating since 1980. America is in a civil religious war about its response. Rid ye of the devil's government remains America's oldest civil religion. It faces the newer leg up creed. 72% of Democrats see a major role for government in lifting people out of poverty. Only 36% of Republicans do. 82% of Democrats see government as having a major role in health care. Only 34% of Republicans do. Given Trump's positions and appointments, it is not clear that he will relieve the loss of work and pride suffered by his populist voters. This leaves them the choice to vote Democrat in 2018 or 2020, or to move further to the populist right. My guess is that that will depend on the programs the Democratic Party develops and with how well it educates voters at the grassroots level. At present, Democratic leadership is yet emerging. For instance, though much was made of the risks of Clinton's private email server, there has been but slow Democratic reaction to the risks of Russian computer hacking for the purpose of electing Trump, or to the risks of Trump's business conflicts of interests. Democratic responses in Congress will emerge in the months to come. But American suspicion of government may work here as well. Again, compared to the Tea Party. The Tea Party formed quickly at the grassroots level in response to Obama. Citizen response is underway now in response to Trump, notably in donations of time and money to civil society organizations that protect civil rights, religious minorities, immigrants, the environment, etc. In the week after Trump's election, the American Civil Liberties Union, which protects civil rights, raised more money than in any week in its history. It's not the only organization that has seen an uptick. ProPublica, environmental groups, immigrant groups, sanctuary cities, etc. One area deserving immediate attention is our voting district system that gives more weight to heavily Republican rural areas than to urban Democratic ones. Because Democrats are concentrated in cities, they can win a majority of the state's population, but not a majority of the state's districts, and so end with a minority of representatives in state and federal Congress. Let me give you an example from the National Congress. Rural Republican Wyoming has 2 senators and 1 congressperson, 3 times the congressional and electoral college representation that it would have if representation were based only on population. The Electoral College, a temporary body which meets only to cast votes for the president, is based on congressional representation. If the proportion of electors to population enjoyed by Wyoming were the same in California, California would have 159 electors instead of 55. Democrats won 6 out of the 7 last presidential elections, but lost 2 in the Electoral College. In 2016, Clinton won nearly 3 million more votes than Trump and lost. What I hope for most concerns Americans' anti-authoritarian throw the bastard out-ism, which has given us democracy and critical thinking and a willingness to question the status quo, and also uncritical populism. Like all facets of culture, throw the bastards out-ism has productive and unproductive consequences. And I would like America to know more about this part of itself, because what we have here today with Trump is not Hobbesian, where the Leviathan sovereign is needed to stop societal chaos and is otherwise quite limited. What we have here today is also not Schmittian, where the fracturing of political opinion and values has so destabilized society that the sovereign faces an exceptional moment, the Ausnahmezustand, and must make a decision about society's future direction, value, and policies. What we have here today is a moment when someone is highlighting the divisions in societies and highlighting anxieties for political and monetary gain. Thank you for your attention.